Um, Thank you, Nicole's got that recording. Appreciate that. So just again, want to thank everybody for being here and being on time. We appreciate that very much. Nicole, if you want to just switch to that logistics slide. I think for the most part, Nicole, I'm just trying to get caught up on who's on the list, but I think people have people are all people are returning to the call. Is there anybody new on the call right now, Nicole?
New that joined us since we started?
No, the first time.
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, everyone's been here before.
All right. Well, logistics are all there. I think you guys know the basics of it, and we appreciate that very much. So again, I just want to thank everybody for being here on a interesting summer night. Hot like crazy in Regina. Skies are calm, but in Saskatoon, concerns about weather. So if we lose anybody, thanks. Take care of yourself for sure. So with that, I will invite Lisa Bagaluri, SSA President, to bring greetings.
Thanks, Doug. Thanks also to Eden and sorry, my brain, Nicole. Thank you for getting us ready for tonight. So on behalf of the board of directors and staff, I want to welcome our nice, quaint, organized, oh my goodness. I haven't even started drinking yet tonight, guys, so maybe I should start. I want to welcome all our member organizations to the call tonight, even though a small number of you. I'd like to start off by acknowledging that the land that we are gathered on today, although remotely, is that of Treaty 2, Treaty 4, Treaty 5, Treaty 6, Treaty 8, Treaty 10, and is the traditional territory of the Cree, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, Saulteaux, Stoney, and the homeland of the Métis and Dene people. So we're finally back to games, at least outdoor that is, and it's been a long road to get here. And I speak on behalf of the board and staff when I say that we've sincerely appreciated your patience and support along the way. We've been constantly impressed by our members' dedication to participate safely. Although we're not through the pandemic yet and must continue to follow the guidelines and procedures in place, we are progressing. And we know that you have the same sense of relief that we do, that things are finally starting to feel more normal. So thank you to everyone that participated in the advocacy campaign over the last month and for participating in all these calls. Timing was right, and we feel that our voices have been heard. So thanks again for your assistance. We're looking forward to continue to progress, although the roadmap and seeing the indoor games and tournaments in the weeks and months to come. Please continue to watch for updates in our communications as we learn that this year guidelines can change at any time. Lastly, thank you to everyone for joining us again tonight and for your participation since these calls have begun and likely be the last call until the fall. I hope you all have a wonderful summer. With that, I'll hand it back over to Nicole to go through the agenda for tonight.
Thanks, Lisa. So on tonight's agenda, we're going to talk about return to soccer, Soccer Town, Saskatchewan, Rafflebox, indoor registration, the Everyone's Game community update, and then we're going to end the call talking about how we can engage our adult players. So the return to soccer plan, the last update to the plan was on May 26th. As you all know, outdoor sports and games are now allowed as of May 30th, and indoor sports are to resume on June 20th. A couple of things to note about indoor sports that we already know. Masks will still be required indoors until that step 3 thresholds meant. So that's likely the middle of July, but that date hasn't been set yet. So masks will be required for everyone indoors, including the players. And the capacity indoors is going to be for 150. Tournaments, we're still expecting them to be allowed around the middle of July, but that has not been confirmed yet either. So we will continue to update you on that. And there's still no interprovincial travel. And we might not see that for a while until other their neighboring provinces see significant improvements. And as you probably heard today, the self-isolation requirements changed today. So those that are fully vaccinated, so that's have both their doses of the vaccine, and it's been 14 days since their second dose, if they're considered a close contact without symptoms, they don't have to self-isolate for the 2 weeks. So that's really good news for our soccer players. Now, if you play against someone and there's another player on the other team that had COVID, you might not have to miss, some might not have to miss work for 2 weeks or not be able to go to school for 2 weeks. So that's really important. So to note there, athletes must continue to follow whatever guidance they get from Sask Health Authority. So it's not automatic that they don't have to self-isolate. There might be reasons they need to. If there was a large number of cases or they have symptoms or things like that, they have to follow the advice of the Saskatchewan Health Authority. And we aren't going to change our outdoor waivers to reflect that, but we will look at indoor and make any changes to that declaration of compliance as they're required. I just want to do a quick poll. Maybe if you could just put up your hand if you're planning on offering indoor soccer within the next month or so, or if that's even on your radar, our futsal. Joan says yes. TJ, I know you guys have some because my husband has an indoor game coming up. So we have a meeting with SAS Sport tomorrow. So we're hoping for some more clarity on indoor guidelines after then. So we will be sure to pass those along in our Thursday communication. Our communications come out on Thursday now. Now, Joan, in the next month or so, for those that are considering it, just so I have an idea of. Joan says no. So mostly TJ. Aaron, would you guys use your indoor facility for games if there was a rainout or something like that, or?
We're not planning on using it right now.
Oh, okay.
If we ended up with a lot of rainouts, I don't know what we would do, but no, there's nothing scheduled as of now.
Okay.
Sorry, Nicole, even our indoor facility, we were kind of positive that there will be no masks for after June 20th, but being it is, so we will be moving them outdoors because that was contingent on no masks being worn while playing, basically, unless something changes soon here. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Just so we have an idea of when people are planning on starting playing games indoors.
Yeah.
Perfect. So we'll pass along any new information there.
So Nicole, just to let everybody know that Kim Duick from the BRT is actually on the SAS Sport call tomorrow. And usually he wouldn't come on unless he has something to update. So hopefully we'll get some new information tomorrow. And Nicole, just to make your screen size a little bigger, maybe you want to just click off your comment box.
Oh, yeah.
That'll just expand that a little bit. Okay, thanks.
Perfect. So Soccer Town, Saskatchewan, I know some of you have put entries in. We received 15 outstanding submissions from around the province. They're really exciting to see. And we've been posting those on social media. We started last week and we'll be posting until June 22nd. And then on June 25th, the top 3 videos will be announced. And then on Tuesday, June 29th, Soccer Town Saskatchewan will be crowned at an in-person presentation. So you've probably all seen what it's about, but if not, member organizations are submitting videos showing their support for a CPTL team coming to Saskatoon and also the stadium being built in Saskatoon. And then based on those video submissions, we are going to have one winner. So we ask if you want to, we appreciate if you could engage on social media and share and like the posts to show your support, especially if you have a video. You need a minimum of 25 likes, so you want to make sure that you get those as well. Are there any questions before we move on about return to soccer or Soccer Town, Saskatchewan that I can answer or try to answer? What we will do is we will just go, we have a small group tonight, so it won't take very long. But we'll just go around and get updates from everyone about how the return to games is going. If you have any questions for us, or if you have any questions of other members on things that they're doing. And then we will go from there. So I'll start at the top here with Danielle from Saskatoon Adult.
We started our games June 1st, right off the bat. They've been going good. Our second session will start July 9th and our first ends June 30th. Unfortunately, though, we did have our first COVID case. Yesterday, it was brought forward to us. The timely fashion of SHA is completely different than indoor. We actually received an email from them shortly after we were notified from the player. And then a second communication today. They don't actually give a lot of direction for us, but it's definitely for the players. So we have actually still remained with the mini league style. So it doesn't really affect us a whole lot. The one ref and the few teams that were in that bubble, of course, are canceled, but otherwise everything's going well.
Great, that's good to know that their response rate has improved.
Significantly, yeah.
Yeah. So did you cancel the mini league for 2 weeks or?
Yeah, which takes us to the end of the first session. So it's done, but the teams plan to be back for second session. So they weren't too put off by it.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Do you know if the players were considered close contacts?
They're not, but they do ask that they still go get tested, even if they're not symptomatic.
Oh, okay.
And it's just about self-monitoring, no self-isolation required.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Thanks, Danielle.
You're welcome.
Now Danielle from QVSA.
Okay, well, for QVSA, out of, I think we have 9 clubs that register through us, 9 or 10. We only have 2 that are going to pursue games, and one is my club, which is Kelleher, and the other is Lemberg. And we've had 2 away games so far, and now we're going to have 2 home games. So I was out painting lines right up until the meeting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully the weather's going to cooperate. We are not going into summer just because most of our families are not in favor of doing that, and we're really short on numbers. I mean, we have huge combinations of age groups you wouldn't even believe, but we're still playing some games anyway. We've just made it work. I mean, we took the groups that were practicing together, and we found Lemberg has similar situation. You know, we usually register 78 players, and I think we have 45 this year. So we have really large age spans playing together, but it's the same on both sides. So, I mean, it seems to be working just fine. It's challenging the younger ones. I mean, I'm impressed with some of these younger kids that are playing with kids that are 5 years older than them, and they're just amazing. So I think the skill level is going to come up, but I mean, it's only 4 games, and it's more just for fun, just to get them out there and get them active again, and give our refs, you know, a little bit of experience because they've had a 2-year break. So it's 4 games, and we're kind of excited about it feeling a little more normal. They're really excited about not having to wear masks. You know, we've had them wearing masks in our club just because we hadn't played for so long, and we had decided in our district we would. And so now that restrictions are lifting, we're going ahead and matching what Regina and other places are doing outdoor and saying the no masks. So that's really been a huge thing that the kids are very excited about because they hated it. So
yeah, it feels more normal.
Yeah, so that's it for us.
Great, thanks. Erin with SYSI.
Our outdoor league is in full swing right now. The Community Association League wraps up at the end of June, and the zone teams go until, I believe we have finals on July 17th. So we're going a couple weeks into the summer, which we haven't done for a while, but just to get them the extra games. And we're working on the PSL registration, just trying to confirm people's interest and stuff. But yeah, that's basically where we're at.
You find that people were generally okay with extending the season?
Yeah, I think so, because there was only a small number of complaints. So I
Yeah.
mean, most of the people kind of get it. And I mean, baseball's going till end of July, middle of August, depending on the age group and division. So I mean, people kind of just, I think they're just excited to be playing games.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Erin.
Thanks.
Joan with Astra.
Hi. So Astra resumed they usually have a game day or game night at the end of their training weeks. So they added games into that, which they were really excited about. And they've played a couple of, our university prep program has had opportunity to play against Whitecaps and stuff. So it's good. They're excited. So yeah, games have been going well within Astra. Yeah, and that's about it. But I want to say to adult soccer, oh, sorry, the storm, my kid's coming in and the storm's going outside. So I appreciate Saskatoon adult soccer doing the half field 77, because man, I just
It's hard getting back.
Just as an aside, the first game I was running in quicksand, and the next game I was running in deep sand, so I'm improving. But anyway, no, games are going good with Astra. So yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Joan.
Thanks, Joan. TJ with FC Regina. If you
Sorry,
talk-
it took me a while to
No worries.
unmute the thing. So yeah, things are going good. Our youth season started about 3 weeks ago, or 2.5 weeks ago, and our adult started just on Monday here yesterday. And yeah, things are in full swing right now. We introduced the games last week for youth, and kids are really excited actually. Yeah, like we talked about earlier there, we did schedule some games indoors June 20th onwards, but we will probably be switching to outdoors here. We did have some field bookings for some grass and some turf fields. So this was just a contingency plan. So I think we will have to use that. But otherwise, yeah, things are good.
Yeah, maybe just wait until after our SAS Sport call tomorrow, and I'll touch base with
I can't
you.
hear you now.
Oh, can anyone else hear me?
I can hear you, Nicole.
Can you hear me, TJ?
Yeah, I can now. Sorry,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know what
Oh,
happened.
no
there.
worries. Before you change anything, maybe just wait till after our call tomorrow, and then
Yeah.
I'll let you know if there's any changes
That's
to the masking.
exactly what I
but-
was gonna ask. If you can let me know, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks. Bye.
I think, Angel with VSA. We got you there, Angel? Maybe not. That is okay. Okay, I don't think I missed anyone else. Perfect. Oh, Angel, just joining late. Did you want to give an update on how things are going with VSA and the return to games, Angel, or? Let me see you.
Muted right now. Oh, we got a camera.
Oh, hi.
Hello, there you are.
Sorry, guys. I'm just joining in late. We actually have a board meeting in session
happening at the same time as this meeting. So I thought I would try to tune into both meetings at the same time. So sorry about that. We are in full swing of outdoor season and things are going really good. We hired a technical director and the club seemed to be really enjoying Coach Hassan and the things that he's been doing with our youth. And we're just happy to be out playing games. So that's short and sweet.
That's great. Thank you. That's some good multitasking. Okay. I think I have one more slide and then I will hand it over to Eden. So Rafflebox, most of you are on it, not all of you. I won't call you out, but if you're not on it, it's very little work to your organization. All you need to do is fill out the form and send it to Stephen, and then we'll get you on there. And we just ask for your help promoting it. So sharing our posts, liking our posts, things like that, posting it on your website. And then the winner gets 50% of the pot and your organization gets about 35%. So if you're not on that, feel free to send Porter a message, Stephen Porter, and he'll be able to help you out. So we've seen it's a really big raffle in the first week. It was over 10 grand. And then they've decreased in size since then. But there's still significant prize amounts that are being paid out. They've all been over $1,000. The total jackpot, some of the pots paid out have been less than that, around $800, $600. So it's a good prize to win. Yeah, so we just ask that you continue to like and share those posts if you're participating in it, or if you're not participating in it, you can do that as well. And a reminder that we will be paying out your club or member organization portions quarterly with a check. I will hand it over to Eden to talk about registration.
Thanks, Nicole. You want to keep the slides? Yes.
Sorry?
You're going to keep the slides?
Oh, yes.
And Danielle had a question, Danielle Moore had a question about Rafflebox. Did you see that?
Rafflebox continues for at least a 1-year period as our lottery license. So the weekly draws for the next year, and then whether we extend it or not, we would adapt our lottery license, but at least the next year.
And is there a possibility of a change so that it's not every week? Or is that for sure for the next year?
Right now, the lottery license, that's not something that we anticipate we can change.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah, so the goal really though, of course, is to keep the effort up and obviously for members to start to realize that, they can raise their entire soccer fees through that piece and play for free. That's sort of a large target for people. So I think it's still just a matter of people engagement. Plus, if we can get our totals back up, the pot starts to grow and the sales become easier. So people just have to buy in, and the lottery, will do well for us, I think. But yeah, this first year, we're license is 52 weeks.
Okay.
I don't think there's any other questions, Eden.
Okay. I'll just say this in case it happens. So I'm also in the middle of the storm right now that's going on outside. If I happen to lose power and I flicker, I'll be just a second where I'll come back online. It sounds pretty rough out there right now all of a sudden. So here's hoping that the lights don't get turned off in the next couple of minutes. But that being said, I'm just going to talk about a couple of things before we wrap up tonight. So one of them being the indoor 21-22 registration. I know it was 30 degrees plus out today, but indoor registration is available. Just a quick reminder though, it's only available when you activate it. So if you go into your ramp sites, into your season settings, you'll see that you'll have indoor registration in there where you can start prepping it. It won't be live until you make it live, so until you add any packages or make it active in your system. So you can feel free to go in there now and start setting things up if you so choose so, or you can start accepting registration whenever you're prepared to do so for indoor 21-22. Nicole was talking before about our COVID-19 declaration of compliance. So this waiver will probably change between now and our indoor season. Individuals will still register with the current waiver that's in there. And if there is a major update that's done to that waiver, then they'll have an email that's sent out to all their participants to update their waiver signature. So they won't need to re-register. They'll just get a prompted email to have them to update their waiver signature. If some of you were doing the return to soccer last year at this time, we had that exact scenario where we implemented the COVID-19 declaration of compliance waiver and had to send it out to all the people who registered before the pandemic hit. It'll be the same system, but I'll be able to do it from my end at a provincial level to prompt them all to update their waiver. Okay, we can move on to everyone's game. So everyone's game, I know most of you would have probably seen our activity on social media, our Everyone's Game Resource Center in our communications, our weekly communications, as well as when we made the announcement at the AGM. So Everyone's Game community is just an extension of our Everyone's Game strategy. It's a safe place where member organizations can come, we share experiences, we're growing our organization's values, we're celebrating successes from growing these values, and we're learning from one another. So it does include quarterly online gatherings where we just have a quick discussion. Sometimes there's free workshops or we're just sharing resources. So for example, our first one is kicking off in June, and that's where we're going to be focusing on diverse gender strategies in sport and how to build inclusive environments for LGBTQIS2 participants. So if you haven't already taken or signed up to join the movement, would love to see more organizations a part of this movement. But we currently have 4 that have signed up, and that's Weyburn, FC Regina, Cudworth, and Yorkton, and I look forward to working with them in the next couple of months. So really, it's not that big of a time commitment. We're meeting quarterly and making huge impacts. So if your organization is ready to join the movement, you can contact me to sign up, or you can just visit our website. We have a couple web pages devoted to Everyone's Game. Flying through that. Yeah, thanks. So what we're going to talk about for a little bit of the rest of the meeting here is just some adult engagement. I'm going to go through some of our survey responses that we released back in March of 2021. And these are going to be surveys that we collected in 2020. And then we're going to work on a couple brainstorming ideas with how we can make sure we're getting our adults to come back to the sport. Our last Jamboards have come out with tons of success. So hopefully we get some good ideas here when we talk about adult engagement. We got Technique Football, our stimulus funding. We started the podcast for Everyone's Game with our member interviews, and of course, Return to Soccer advocacy campaign that was kicked off last month. So I'm looking forward to see what we're going to come up with tonight. So before we go over to that Jamboard, I just want to highlight a couple things from the survey just to kind of get our minds thinking in the right direction. So we'll go and take a look at a couple slides from the individual satisfaction survey that we collected in 2020. Go to the next slide there, Nicole.
Sorry, I muted myself. I was talking on mute. Do we want to say if youth members, we encourage you to stick around for this, but yeah, if you have other things going on right now, or if you're in 2 board meetings right now, like Angel, you can feel free to jump off because this is the last item that we have on the agenda.
Or before you go, if you have any questions about the other information and you wanted to ask them now, we can pause for that, just because I did talk about indoor and Everyone's Game. So if you have any questions about those 2 things before you leave, I can pause for a minute. It looks like everybody is staying on, so I will continue through. So as I said before, the 2020 individual satisfaction survey, I'm going to talk about a couple slides that I thought will highlight our conversation tonight. So we asked them, and this included everybody, majority of the responses did come from youth parents, but there were adults that completed this survey as well. So what experiences are potentially withholding players from joining soccer next year, which would be this current year, 2021? So some of the top ones were others, which are highlighted there in this little word cloud that I put together. Another thing was cost, programming, or lack of development opportunities, and then lack of, it wasn't competitive enough. So I think it's good sometimes if we understand, what would be potentially things that would withhold players from coming back. Not saying that they didn't, but these are some of their feelings towards not wanting to return. And when we look at the word cloud, we can see in there that one of the major ones that stick out is COVID. So I think safety is going to be, might still be a really large thought in some of our adults returning to the game, especially if they haven't returned already. Next slide. So how was their experiences in 2020? Now, for everyone that got to join back into 2020, I'm sure they enjoyed it quite a lot because we were all right in the middle of being isolated for that long period of time. So it was no surprise for me to see that their experiences and them wanting to continue were pretty high. Like, they enjoyed it quite a bit. So the top two reasons if they were going to continue the top two responses on whether they were going to continue to participate was quite a lot and somewhat. So that was good to see from the people that filled out that response in 2020. So now let's look at the people who didn't return. So the people who would have played in 2019 and didn't return into 2020. Now, of course, that's going to be a large number of individuals, but I still think the information that they gave to us within this survey is important to look at. So why they decided to stop playing soccer? The largest ones that come out there is that they just didn't enjoy playing anymore at 4.4 out of 5, and the player wanted to focus on another sport. Now, again, we see a lot of those players wanting to focus on another sport in our youth categories and by parents filling this out on behalf of the player. But I think another one to look at is the player not enjoying soccer anymore. That could be some adults responding, or the player or their parents were unhappy with the soccer program. So it could be something that they took from the program that they just would not like to return to because of what occurred during that time. So just some things to keep in our minds going forward. Go to the next one. And the primary reasons why the players stopped playing organized soccer. So we saw that in the last slide, focusing on another sport, not enjoying, unhappy. But there was a bunch, 52% put in their own responses, so that other. And again, we see in here injury, their schedule didn't work, and COVID. Those are the three ones that come out to us. So I think injury is an important one when it comes to adult players and having a place for them to return. And we do see pregnant, that I think is a huge one when it comes to adult players. A lot of moms hesitate about coming back. And I think that might mix in a little bit with that schedule, just trying to do both lifestyles at that time. So those are a couple important points that we saw from their feedback there in the survey, which I think will lead really good into our thought process right away for the Jamboard. Let's visit that Jamboard now.
I put the link in the chat, Eden.
Sorry. That thunder scared the crap out of me.
I thought it was my voice.
No.
There's some big cracks. Yeah, there's some big cracks. Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. All right. So yeah, we can go on to that Jamboard now. And the link is in the chat, just like Nicole said. So if you scroll up a little bit, you can visit the Jamboard and participate with us. And there is, Nicole, can you hover over where they can add sticky notes? Thanks. So if you want to add any of your comments, or you can just put them, so Danielle, I will answer that question in just a second. Or you can just put your questions in the chat, or you can everybody can unmute, and we can just start chatting. But I think we can look at one of the first questions is, what is working to bring adult players back to soccer? So I know Joan made the comment earlier as being an adult soccer player herself on how happy she was to come back and that she really enjoyed the smaller fields. So I think that's something where we can take off in there. And just while we're waiting for people to join the Jamboard, I'll answer Danielle's question. This survey, she wouldn't have got it for this year yet. She'll get that one at the end of the outdoor season. So that was non-returning was for people who played in 2019 who did not return in 2020. I'm going to put smallest field size.
Can I add to that?
Yep.
So feedback from my team when we were playing last night against a really hacky team with a girl named Eden on it, but I'm just kidding. The half field is good, the 77 is good, but they found that the 25-minute halves, if we have a full roster of 12, was a little short, just because of if you have a full roster, and if it goes to 15 for locally, provincially, but this is just feedback for the roster size. The small short halves and then an increased roster size, people were worried about that. So that's just what I heard from my teammates. So not a criticism, just some feedback that I heard.
Thanks, Joan.
Danielle, have you heard anything about what are players excited about with returning back for Saskatoon adults?
Playing on the grass. People are excited about that, just being outside and playing. The 2 sessions we've got a positive response to as well. Somebody already added that.
Yeah, I'd add on to their just being a player in your league as well. So Joan made a statement about the length of the games, and my team might be a little bit opposite, but we enjoy the 25-minute halves. Our roster is quite small, so we'll save that one for the next the next question we have here right away. But I saw Joan saw here too, very engaged ref, great ref. So I can put amazing referees. TJ, did you add the offering 2 seasons in there?
I added Lisa's comment in there. TJ messaged me and he apologized. He had to leave. His daughter woke up. So.
Oh no, I would have loved to hear his feedback. Nicole, you have adult players in your household who participate. What do you think one of their reasons is for going back to soccer?
I think the social aspect. We've missed our soccer friends. Also, the shorter times. My husband's playing tonight. I'm preparing for him to complain for 3 days how sore he is.
I'll add maybe then. What about just having the physical activity? Has anyone said that this was their main, where they went to work out was soccer? Is that something they've?
For sure, people have said just nice to be able to work out kind of thing through a social environment. So
we can't keep everyone happy, but we have received a lot of accolades over keeping the division small and the rosters smaller, just to keep safety a little bit better, I guess.
Yeah, that probably helps people feel more comfortable coming back.
Yeah.
That's a great one, Danielle. So smaller division sizes.
Yeah, less cross-contaminating with more players and teams.
Perfect. So I'm putting more, I was just separating them kind of, the league aspect, what we're doing at the league level that's really enticing people to come back. And then what's the personal level besides coming back.
So Danielle, I just want to comment on that piece there. That's really interesting that you guys have chosen mini leagues. I remember when we introduced this notion of mini leagues last year, right? And even though we sort of got to play, it was kind of, there was some sides of frustration with that, but that's really interesting. That's worked to your advantage. So that's good thinking and meeting what people need. So good stuff.
Thank you.
I think having for locally in Saskatoon, having the format ready to go and I think it's a good learning curve. So if you're up against it again with some kind of situation like this, that you had our teams register. So we were ready to go. And I don't know what they did in Regina or other areas, but they had in Saskatoon, they had people register, and then, you know, you had the format ready to go. So I appreciated that as an organizer, and I think that way you could get at it really quickly. So
Yeah, it made it very easy to return because it was just, we're starting and everybody was there. So that preparation made a difference. I think that's good for this question. Let's move on to the next one. We have a good collection of responses here. You guys are doing awesome for only big one. So this is where we're going to kind of start to think, you know, let's look outside the box, inside the box, all around. Like, what methods could we be using to engage new adult players, or even engaging those non-returning ones? Some of those might be hesitant of coming back, or just haven't thought about coming back to soccer, or haven't even thought about soccer as a new sport for them to try out.
Something adult soccer would like to see is tournaments, individual player registration fee either lessened or completely voided in order to make it more cost effective for people to come back in a tournament setting. The tournaments are a lot of fun. And so paying $60 plus to enter a tournament is not very appealing for a lot of people. So then they don't bother. But losing that $30 fee could definitely help, because we run tournaments really just teetering on a profit / loss. So there's not a whole lot more we could give.
Perfect, good. So a specific tournament registration fee I'll put on there. I'll know what that means. Introduction league for all brand new players.
for, pardon me, for masters or legends, actually probably legends, like over 50 players, like men's is a little different, but the women, I don't know, Danielle, you may have thought of this already, but using that 77 half field format for the older players.
The last survey we put out, the majority didn't want to have a larger field. So it remained at quarter field, but that's definitely something that we can ask again.
Oh, so yeah, I meant that, like have a smaller field with a 77 half field format.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, in indoor, they play quarter field.
Right, okay, the legends do, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If they play turf, okay, yeah. Sorry, that's my naivety.
No, that's okay.
An outdoor though, do they, with the legends or
I'll have to
masters?
review. Typically women don't play outdoor, and maybe it's because it is half field. Maybe they would prefer the quarter field, but honestly, after being on maternity, I have to check all of our formats for sure.
Oh, that's okay. So yeah, if it is half field, that's what I mean, not a full regular field size 11v11. I'm just thinking as a player myself who's looking to transition to a different format, that a smaller field as a masters player, that like this current format would be ideal for me as a masters player. So anyway, yeah, as an older masters, because I know it's 30 plus now. So
yes, yeah.
Just going off of what Danielle was saying previously about having tournaments and having new players, you know, entice them to come, would there be any type of events that people could think of that we would try to engage new players or non-returning? I believe with just from learning from Soccer Day in Saskatchewan that we haven't seen in quite some time due to the pandemic, but watching the 3v3 excitement and some of the adults coming out to that, I think was pretty engaging.
I think a spring event could be helpful. Summer and winter, of course, are taken over quite a bit, but perhaps seeing something in one of the off seasons, spring or fall, I guess.
Perfect. Great.
Eden,
Yes.
maybe if we brainstorm or talk about reasons why players aren't returning, then we might be able to find solutions to those reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
Do you want me to create I'll add a new one. If I know how to do that. I'll add it to the end.
So let's just continue on with what Nicole was saying in there. What do we think are some of the reasons that players aren't returning?
So this is on page 4 if you're in the Jamboard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put one. Oh, someone got there.
That's me.
Oh, I think like. Oh, there's some in the comments.
Injuries. Oh, the gap, the large gap. Angel, when you say the large gap, do you mean between them playing prior to the pandemic or just the gap between indoor and outdoor? Oh, okay. Injuries, of course. So I know for sure with looking at our current adult registration, some of concerns that we've seen in non-returning surveys from the past was a lot of referring to outdoor and them wanting to rather, vacation than being able to commit to a full season length. I think I'd put something along that line. So summer availability. Couple good ones. Yeah, so Joan was just commenting the split seasons are positive, moving forward. Danielle said in the chat that too busy and making it worthwhile for the cost. So I'll put cost in there.
I think the 2 seasons is such a good thing to do. I know my whole women's team didn't play, but people that don't feel safe now might feel safe in late July or August, or I think it's a really good thing.
Especially if they're waiting for their vaccines. If people want to be fully vaccinated before they return, I think the 2 seasons have been really helpful. Another thing I've heard regarding the 2 seasons is if people had majority of their holidays in June or July, they were able to pretty much register for soccer around it. I'm not sure if FCR has the same separation in their seasons, but I know with Saskatoon adults having their season in June and then another one starting in July, we had some players play in June and they won't be doing the July, but they're still happy to at least be able to do half the season.
Yeah.
Indoor is such a long season for Saskatoon Regina, having an indoor facility. Yeah, you can put length of it. Good. I'll just go over some of these items before we go back to the last question on here. So we have a couple of good items for why they aren't returning. This is usually the ones that we're able to identify. I noticed nobody said that like anything regarding to pregnancy. And I think that's one that we see quite a bit, with having mothers return, or even new fathers returning after they have their first child, usually is where we see a lot of people not coming back. I think I'm going to put something about that in there, because now evenings are probably not the best time for them to return. So well, before I put that in, and if someone can put that in better words than what I just said. So why are they not returning? Late game times, the gap between indoor and outdoor seasons, summer availability, cost, the length of the season, more personal, so COVID, safety, injuries, and they just don't feel safe coming back to the pitch yet. Any last family commitments? Thank you. Yeah, their priorities change. Awesome, wonderful. Thank you guys. Getting a lot of items in the chat here. I appreciate that. So let's look at one of the last questions for us to reflect on, which is slide 3. So what supports do you think you would need to help your adult organization be successful, or to bring some players back? I'm going to add walking soccer events. Just be biased about it. So John said a variety of playing options. So we know the variety of playing options exist, but what kind of things are not currently available that would be helpful? We all must be scratching our brains a whole bunch.
What about information, like survey data, like what you gave us today? I think that's valuable, rather than us guessing.
In-person feedback. So I know with RAMP, we have the ability, something that's a really neat feature, just since like we're talking about this, so I think it's a good time to kind of highlight it, is there is a retention scanner that can happen in your RAMP system underneath the members tab, where it will actually pull reports for you to look at players who didn't return to that season. You can review it by the year, you can review it by the season. It's a really handy tool. Probably most of you don't know about it, because I haven't really been able to use it too much, because we haven't had 2 seasons for me to compare in a good way yet since COVID. So I think that'd be a handy tool just to keep in our back pockets, to look at our retention and maybe reach out to those individuals from a club level and finding out, what aren't they coming back. So I think that's a good support system. Oh, we got one from Aaron here. Finding ways to get them to never stop playing when they're youth players, for sure. So this is good. Hearing from, so Aaron's with Saskatchewan Youth Soccer. So she says they see a big drop in U17 and U19. If we can keep them at those ages and help them to transition to the adult leagues, it'd be good for both sides. Transition support. Youth to adult. Good comment.
That's a good one.
Perfect. So if we're thinking about safety, is there anything from outside our organization, from a government perspective, or any type of support that soccer itself wouldn't be able to highlight to get people to return? I know indoor masks while playing might be a restriction for some players wanting to come back.
I think it could help if there was some sort of adult mentor for some of the youth teams transitioning. It's a lot of responsibility because they often become the coach and manager themselves. From even having checkbooks and enough money to cover team fees, it's a big responsibility. So having adult mentors could be really helpful.
Good, some good items in here. Brave, yep. All right, so I'm just go through a couple of these before we wrap it up, because we are close to 9 here. So some of the supports, I put, intro to different types of events, having that being available to new players or players who want to look at coming back. Player fee for one last or first tournament of the season. Transition support from youth to adults. An adult mentor for youth players moving into adult leagues. Information, so knowing what our players are saying, what's in the survey data. Opportunity for in-person feedback, and no mask wearing for indoor players. Good, so we have a couple items that are all those questions. What I'll do is I'll collect some of this and see what we review it with our staff as well. We got some good information, and our best way to collect this information is talking directly to the source. So thank you so much for everybody engaging. Oh no, Danielle, that's okay. I think it's good. It could mean two different things. Danielle was just saying she thinks it might be a duplicate for the transition and the mentor, but I think it could be looked at two different things. You could have a system transition, and then you could have a personal transition. So I think it's two good points. So with that, Nicole, I can hand it back over to you.
Sure.
Thanks so much.
So the next meeting will be in September unless one is required earlier. So if we get some news that requires us to meet, we will definitely do that, but we're not suspecting that we'll have another meeting until September. Upcoming events and deadlines. So June 21st is the registration payment submission deadline. Also on June 21st is a video analysis course for coaches. June 23rd is the Everyone's Game Communication Education series that Eden was talking about. So building a diverse gender strategy. June 29th is the Soccer Town Saskatchewan winner announcement, which would be very exciting. September 30th is the final outdoor registration submission deadline. And then September 30th is also the MAP grant follow-up deadline. Just open it up one more time for questions about anything that we talked about tonight or anything else that anyone would like to bring up.
I was just gonna say, like we might be interested in doing something like along the lines of what we just did with the adult stuff for like those U17 and U19 age groups, because like we are hurting, like we have a lot of interlocking divisions and stuff, and just, I mean, we're definitely seeing a decrease in numbers at those ages. And I mean, if we can get that back up, and just looking at the reasons that the players are leaving are different than why the youth players are leaving. A large part of it anyways, but yeah, just I think something like that might be helpful. I'm sure we're not the only ones in that boat.
Yeah, thanks, Erin. Yeah, that's definitely something we can look at doing. We did do one a couple of months ago that was geared towards everyone, and we got a lot of valuable youth feedback out of that one too. So we wanted to make sure that we did something specifically for the adults, because often we hear more youth voices than the adult voices when we do these things, but we could definitely look at doing something for youth as well. But yeah, like the Technique football app and things like that are what came out of the last Jamboard we did. Anyone else?
Angel put in the chat there, hoping to get the excitement back into soccer too. Find too much overlap. Yeah. Crazy preseason, for sure.
What do you mean by too much overlap, Angel? Oh, conflict schedules with ball. Yes, we find a lot of our communities, they have their best success when they coordinate in rural communities with ball, but with the season the way it is now, I'm sure that's more difficult than it's been in the past. Joan?
To highlight on for the registration for the events and deadline. So the June 21st payment deadline is for the fees. Everyone on this call would have already submitted their registrar report, and today would have gotten emails just indicating if there is a registration fee adjustment. So check your emails, and then the payment due date is the 21st. If you've already sent in a check, we're going to be pretty much destroying them just so we don't cash checks for the wrong amount. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me.
Joan, you have a question?
Yeah, just sorry if this is unrelated to other stuff. Does SSA still have a sanctioning process for educational camp or camp events like they do for tournaments? If
No.
it's out, no, okay.
Members
So-
don't need to, you don't need to sanction a camp. You just need to make sure that everyone's popularly registered and that you're following
Okay,
all.
so if it's open to anyone within, they have to be registered in RAMP, but could be from other, like outside of Astra, right? But they have to be registered in RAMP.
Yeah, you'd register them like you would any other player, yeah.
Okay, super, thanks.
Yep. Did we miss any questions? Let's see. I don't think we have anything else. So with that, we will wrap it up. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm sure we'll be talking to many of you throughout the summer, but if we don't, even if we do, we hope you have a wonderful summer. And Doug, do you have any last comments?
No, I just want to say thanks to everybody for being on the call tonight. We appreciate you being here and sharing your voice with us. Lisa, thanks for being on. Eden, thanks for doing all the heavy lifting to get this thing pulled together. Lisa, you have anything you want to chip in on?
No, just wanted to wish everybody a great summer, and thanks for always being here. Appreciate it.
All right, well, we appreciate everybody, and be safe up there in Saskatoon and with the wind and whatever else might be coming your way, and we'll talk again soon, and obviously just connect if there's anything you need. And hopefully there's a little bit of update tomorrow. Not anticipating a whole lot, but we'll obviously pass along real quick anything that we find. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night.
Thanks, everyone.
Night, everybody.